Hey everyone! Thanks for tuning into my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to crochet a fox hood with braids. We're going to make an adult medium size, but there are also instructions for kids through adult large sizes in the written pattern available for sale on my website, and I'll leave a link for that in the description. For this project, you're going to need at least 250 yards of a super bulky weight yarn. I'm using Lion brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick in the color Spice. For the fur, I'm using also Lion brand Go for Faux. This is the regular thickness, not the Thick and Quick. I just find it a little bit easier to work with, and it comes in lots of colors. And I just have a half a skein here, just left over from my stash. You're also going to need a 9mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and a measuring tape. Let's get started. To begin, you're going to want to leave at least a 2-foot tail, 24 inches. We're going to use this tail to sew apart later in the pattern. And make a slip knot. Insert your hook. And again, we're doing the adult medium size, and that's going to start with a chain 52. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you have 52 chain, we're going to add one more. So I guess it's 53, but this is just our turning chain, and we're going to start row 1 in the second chain from hook, so that 52nd chain. And we're going to do half double crochet. This is US terminology, and that's going to be a yarn over. You're going to insert and pick up the 2 loops just like you would a regular stitch. Pull the yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Again, do a yarn over. Working in right into here, so we're picking up top 2 loops, pulling the yarn through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Alright, that's the half double crochet stitch. Go ahead and do 1 in each chain. You should have 52 stitches in total. Okay, here's row 1, all half double crochet. Line it up on a flat surface. And for 52 stitches, you want to be about 28 to 29 inches. So if you're right around there, that's great. If you happen to be much shorter than that, your tension's probably a little tight. You could either go up a hook size to a 10mm, or you can pull out that row, add a few more chain until it's the right length and work from there. Or if you are on the longer end of the spectrum, your tension is a little loose, and you can either go down a hook size or take out that row and take out a couple stitches till you're at that right measurement. Okay, now let's start row 2. At the end of row 1, starting row 2, we're going to chain 1, turn the work. We're going to continue with half double crochet, 1 in each stitch. So continue with the yarn over, insert through the stitch, again picking up top 2 loops, pulling the yarn through, yarn over, pull through all 3. So go ahead and do 1 in each stitch, with the only exception being that we're going to do 2 stitches in the very last stitch. So at the end of row 2, you should have 53 stitches. Alright, there's the last stitch. We're going to sneak in 2 stitches into that last one, which will be a 1 stitch increase. I'm going to chain 1, turn the work, and go back in the other direction. We're going to continue the 1/2 double crochet in each stitch and 2 in the last stitch. So at the end of row 3, you should have 54 stitches. Don't forget that extra stitch in the last stitch. That's the end of row 3. Again, chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to continue this pattern of 1/2 double crochet in each stitch with the increase at the end through row 10. And at that point you should have 61 stitches. And I will meet you at the end of row 10. This is what you should have at the end of row 10. We're just going to fold this in half. Here's our angle where we have been increasing on this edge. And the hood's actually going to go this way. This will be the back. And we're going to sew it up with our tail at some point. But we're going to continue now just with 1/2 double crochet in each stitch, just without the increasing, through row 23. And I'll meet you there. When you get to the end of your first skein, you're going to need to attach your second skein, and you can really do this in any method you prefer, but I prefer the magic knot. So I'm just going to do that real quick. This is not a tutorial for the magic knot, but I will leave a link in the description to another tutorial where I show you how to do the magic knot in depth if you've never done that before. Any other method of joining is fine here. That and continue through row 23. Here's the hood at the end of row 23. I just have this folded in half, and this will be the front side, and this shorter end where we started will be the back side. Now we can cut the yarn. Leave at least a 48-inch tail here, and we're going to use this tail to sew the edge of the hood back and then also incorporate that tail into the braid at the very end. Okay, and now we're going to add some fur onto this end. So grab the fur yarn. Leave about a 20-inch tail here if you want to incorporate the fur into the braid, but if not, you can just leave a short tail, and we're going to just tuck and weave it in. Okay, and then make a slip knot, and we're going to fasten on and do 1 or 2 rows along this outer edge here. Okay, so we have our slip knot on our hook. Locate your first stitch, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, and just single crochet fasten on. And continue doing 1/2 double crochet, 1 in each stitch just along the edge here. So this is like row 24 is fur. Oops. I ended up doing 2 rows, rows 24 and 25 of the faux fur. So I'm back where I started, and again leave a tail and cut the yarn. Pull it through the last loop to secure the work. Okay, now sewing up the back side of the hood now. This is right where we started. Line up that first and last stitch or chain of our chain row, and we're working into the back loops of the chain now. So insert your hook through the back loops on both sides here, yarn over, and pull all the way through. Bring the yarn back up, insert again through the back loops, pull the yarn all the way through, and just repeat that all the way up the hood. You can pull it tight, but not too tight so that it does that. Just tight enough so that it's straight. And keep going. When you've made it to the other end, just keep weaving in and go back down the other way. So just go back through those back loops again in the other direction and continue to weave in your end with however much tail you have left. Pull this tail to the inside of the work, and you can continue to just weave that in as you would normally. Okay, we've got this back side sewn up now. This is a great time to try on the hood and see how it fits, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this front side back. We're going to sew it onto itself, and this is a place where we can adjust for the depth of the hood. So you can either fold it back more if you want it to be a little bit shorter in depth, or fold it less if you want it to be deeper. So go ahead and try it on. I'm going to fold it back about 3 rows of this spice color, and we're going to use the tail end to sew it on. So grab your yarn needle. Alright. Pinch the end of your tail so you can fit it through the yarn needle and make a knot. And now you can use stitch holders here if that helps you keep a straight line. Or you just know that you've folded over however many rows, and just keep an eye on that as you go. And we're just going to do a basic running stitch. You go through. It's good to hold it here so you don't go through the entire hood and just this one side. Pull it all the way through and come back up through the next stitch. Down. And back up. Tuck that back in there. And just continue along the entire row. When you've sewn along the entire row, you should still have some tail left. Just untie it off of your needle and leave it hanging there. We're going to incorporate this into our braids. Now we're going to start the ears, and again, let's leave a long tail. This time 12 inches should do it. Make a slip knot and chain 2. And now in the first chain, we can just work into the back loop. Now, do 2 half double crochets. 1, 2. And we can always pull this tail to kind of tighten that up. Chain 1, turn the work. And now this is row 2 of the ear. Do a half double crochet in the first stitch and 2 half double crochets in the second stitch. So you should have 3 stitches for row 2. chain 1, turn the work, row 3, 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, 1 half double crochet in the second, and 2 in the last. 1, 2. Okay, so you should have 4 stitches now. Chain 1. We're going to do the same thing. 1 half double crochet in each, 2 in the last. So there's 1, 2, 3, and we're going to squeeze 2 more in the last stitch, making 5 stitches. So we're just doing an increase on the ends, kind of like how we were doing at the very beginning of the pattern, just on a smaller scale. Chain 1, turn the work. Again, we're going to do 1 more increase row. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that 5th stitch you're going to do 2. So you should now have 6 stitches, chain 1, and now just go back 1 more time, doing 1 in each. So no increase on that last row. Okay, at the end of row 6, we're going to chain 1 and not turn our work, but we're going to continue up this long side and then work back down this side in single crochet. And we're going to try and squeeze 8 single crochet on this one side. And we're just working into the sides of the stitches, so it's not exactly obvious where we're going, but yeah, basically into the side of the stitch. Pull the yarn through, single crochet. And now there's like a little space next to it. Single crochet. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. Just try to pick up 1 loop here. 6, 7, and 8. Okay, it's okay if it looks a little wonky. We're going to fill this part with yarn, with the fur anyway. And then right where we started, we're going to squeeze in 1 single crochet there and work back down the other side while also working around our tail end here. So squeeze in another 8 single crochet. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, so this is the shape that we made. It's a little triangular. This side came out a little bit straighter. You could always go back if you want to make it straighter, but you know, they're ears, and we're going to fill this with fur next, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, what we should do now is leave another foot long tail, cut this. I can never find my scissors. Trim. Pull that last tail through that last loop. And go ahead and make another one. Alright, once you have 2 ears, they should look the same, or at least pretty close to the same. And then repeat rows 1 through 4 in the faux fur yarn, and we're going to take those and sew them right into those little ears. Okay, here are the two little furry triangles, and we're going to sew them right on top of these other pieces. So, line it up on the bottom to bottom edge, and using one of these tails, maybe the longer one, thread your yarn needle. And now we're just going to work these two pieces together. So come up through the fur. Make sure you have this bottom edge too. Point up, bottom edge we want to be flush. And just go back and forth, sewing the two triangles together. I'm doing this with the red color too, so you can't see it from the back. You could try to sew with the fur, but then it's going to show on the back. And I just kind of tuck these furry ends on the inside like that. And just continue going around each edge. There! Look, you shouldn't have any fur poking out the back. Don't weave these in yet. We're going to use these tails to then sew the ears onto the hood. So go ahead and sew your other two ear pieces together, and then we'll sew these on the hood. Okay, we gotta sew these ears onto the hood now, and to be completely honest, this is my least favorite part, because it is a little tricky getting them to be even, and just sewing them on in general. But make sure your hood is folded in half exactly, okay? And then from the top, you want to come down about 3 stitches. Maybe put a stitch marker there. 1, 2, 3. And we will sew on an ear, and you can line it up with this fur here, so it kind of is, well, you'll know it'll be straight if we line it up with an already straight line. So maybe it's a good idea to mark the other side too. So come down 3 stitches on the other side and mark that too, so we know where we are starting our ears. Although my tail is on this end, but anyway, line this corner up with where that stitch marker is. I'm going to fold it to the front. It's easier if we sew from the back with all the fur out of the way. And just like we sewed up the back edge, we're going to kind of like come up through both sides. And again, come up through both sides, yarn down, up through both sides. So you're always going in the sewing in the same direction, bringing the yarn around, coming up through 1, 2 layers. So once you like the placement of your ears, and you've tried it on, you might notice that they flop forward a teeny bit. So we're gonna do one last thing to the ears before we weave in these ends. Is grab the longer of the ends you have left, and we're going to work them back towards the center of the ear, and we're going to kind of sew one of these posts down back to the work like this so that the ear sits up a little bit better. So you can kind of work just through these stitches. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to work up, and actually it doesn't really matter how you weave through here too much, but try not to work through the fur also. This is why I hate sewing on the ears, because you want to, there we go. Okay. Try not to get caught on the fur and just are weaving through the red part. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to work around one of these posts entirely once. And then I'm going to bring it down, and we're going to work around one of these posts. Right? Go around it one more time. And then come back up. Now we want to tie it there. So you can either bring your other tail end in here and tie it together, or you can split the yarn. It's another option. Untie this knot. You can also split the yarn like this. Right? And then bring one of these around again so that you can then tie it to itself. Always tie a couple, I do like triple knot, and then what I'll do is I'll go around that post one more time and tie it again. You can see how the ear is already standing up much better. That's what we want. Alright, and now we can just finish weaving in these ends, or we can even tuck them inside of these layers here. Well, weave and tuck the ends the best you can. Now we're going to make the braids. We're going to attach them to this section. And whereas normally I would cut some more faux fur and incorporate that into the braid as well, I underestimated how much I had and I actually ran out. So I might just end up cutting and tucking the fur back in and just doing braids in the one color. Anyway, okay, so using this yarn, we're going to measure out, cut 24 strands of yarn that are 40 inches in length, because we want them to be 20 inches folded in half, so that would be 40 inches total. And we're going to use 12 strands on each side to create the braids. So you want to make 3 sections of 4 strands each. That's 1, 2, 3, with the folded ends on top and the loose ends at the bottom. What we're going to do is we're going to put them into this part of the hood in 1, 2, 3 spots. So right in between where the red meets the fur, we're going to insert our hook. Now we'll just go through this side, don't go through both sides. And pull up all 4 of the strands. And then pull the ends of the strands through that loop, and also grab onto that tail we have left over in there. So the tail will just become a part of that. It's like a really long tassel. It is a really long tassel. And now we're going to sew on the 4 more strands right here in the middle of this red section in the front. Loop, pull the ends through, tighten it up. Last 4, we're going to squeeze them in right on the end here. sure you get all 4 through. Tighten it down, and now we will braid these. It's helpful if you have like a weight to hold this down. I'm just going to use my sketchbook just so that there's some tension. That's not even enough, is it? Okay, I already made one braid. I thought I was filming and I wasn't. So I'm going to have to show you again. So we need to put a weight on. Oh yeah, here we go. Just use my speaker here. Okay. Forget these, put those off to the side. I'll weave those in later. We have 3 sections here. They should have the same amount of strands. And if you've never braided before, it's pretty easy. We'll take one of the outer ends. Let's start with this right side and bring it to the center. Always keep these separated. Take this outside bunch, bring it to the center. Repeat. Right to the center. And left to the center. And just braid all the way down. Once you get towards the end here, you want to leave room to trim these a couple inches and also tie it off. And I'm just going to tie it off with some of the fur I have from one of these tails. We're not going to end up weaving in because I don't have enough for both sides. I'm just going to cut a piece and tie off the end with that. I'm going to make sure these are the same length too. Just about, maybe one more. Right there. Okay, so just make sure they're the same length. See what I'm doing? I'm just wrapping it around the end a couple times. And making a knot. A double knot. Wrapping again, making another double knot. Okay, and now we can trim this. It's a little bit longer than I had the other one. Here we go. I'm going to weave these last 2 ends in and I'll show you what we got. And here's the finished fox hood. I hope you all enjoyed my tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions below in the comments. You can check out the written pattern available for sale on my website. It has 6 different sizes. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel and stay up to date on all my newest projects.